Guy chased us home. Last year I was going out for drinks with my friends, but since I had to go to uni the next day I only stayed till around midnight. My boyfriend promised to pick me up and go home with me, because I don't like to take the subway alone at night, but since I was pretty drunk by then, I took a little too long walking out of the pub. Unfortunately, we had to wait for the night bus, with multiple stops, since the subway closes on weekdays at night. For context, my boyfriend and I don't live together but very close to each other, around 15 to 20-minute walking distance. Both areas are pretty shitty. He lives near a train station, many crackheads, homeless and sketchy people around, and I live in cheap, bad district with a high crime rate. My building has two entrances on two different streets because it is a corner building site leading to a patio and then to the apartment building and its doors. To get into my apartment I have to open 3 doors. I usually use the entrance door that is nearer to the subway and on the side of my apartment. We had to take 2 buses to go home. One drove us to the train station and the next one from the train station to my apartment. After getting out of the first bus we realized that we would have to wait for around 20 minutes or something for the second bus to come, and since I really had to sleep at home, class the next day, I didn't want to stay at his place. My boyfriend didn't want to wait, so he persuaded me to walk instead of taking the bus, which sober me would have never done, but since I was still drunk I didn't care how we got home, so I agreed. So, we started to walk home and passed a few sketchy people, mostly people selling drugs etc., but nothing really bad. Then I saw a guy walking in our direction and I somehow got a bad feeling, so I told my boyfriend that I wanted to change to the other side of the street because I didn't want to walk past him. Suddenly the guy yelled a "Hey," as if he wanted to ask us something, but we ignored it and continued to walk. He got louder and louder until he started to yell. I could see from the corner of my eye that he was coming over, so I whispered, "Run," to my boyfriend, took his hand and ran the fastest I could while he was chasing us. We ran and then made a turn to the right, the street where I live, and hid. It seemed like he was gone, so I took my keys out and we started running towards my building, taking the other entrance of my building that I normally didn't use. As I was trying to open the door, my boyfriend started panicking, throwing me inside the patio and closing the door aggressively and then pushing me to the building. He explained that the guy came running from the other side of the street, meaning he took a shortcut, probably thinking we were going to run to the subway/bus stops. If we had taken the other entrance he would have been clearly the faster one. Being in shock, we unfortunately didn't call the police, which I regret. I stopped going out for drinks/clubbing for half a year after this and slept at my boyfriend's place for 2 weeks, because I was scared that he would come back. I think the worst thing about this is that he really wanted to get us for whatever reason. I still want to know why he chased us for so long. 2 weeks later, a girl a few streets away was raped in front of her building by a guy who chased her home. I wonder if it was the same guy or just a coincidence. Bearded, gore-loving women in a hospital gown on the subway. A few summers back, after I had just turned 18, a friend had invited me and some other friends to their family's second home in wine country. I was super excited and had agreed to meet my friends at a semi-distant subway, BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit, station. Since it was only a weekend trip, I had all my stuff in a backpack and my sleeping bag hooked onto the backpack. I am pretty sure that because of that many people mistook me for a female vagrant and thus more approachable, or maybe vulnerable. Indeed, that subway trip alone I had more weird encounters than ever before. That same trip I got hit on by a man 3 times my age and screamed by a homeless man who was asking for the time. However, by far the weirdest encounter that day, and probably in my life, was when the bearded woman in an open-backed hospital gown and hospital bracelet approached me. Now, I don't like to think of myself as discriminatory towards people with mental health issues, as most of my friends are depressed in some form or fashion. Yet, when that woman in a hospital gown and plastic hospital bracelet approached me, my mind went straight to all those horror films about people escaping from an insane asylum, which turned out not to be too far from the truth. To give a bit more details on this woman, she was physically intimidating due to her very large and wide stature. She was at least 6 inches taller than me and weighed a good 70 pounds more. And, most memorable of all, she had a large amount of sparse, patchy, and wiry facial hair. When she started to approach me, I desperately looked down at my phone and tried to pretend I was anywhere else but on that train platform, hoping that she wasn't actually headed for me. That, of course, did nothing, and she sat right next to me. She first asked me if she could borrow my phone. I really didn't want to let this person borrow my phone, as not only did I need to save the battery to rendezvous with my friends, but there had recently been a string of cell phone thefts on BART. I was not about to let mine get stolen, so I gave her some excuse about my battery, hoping that she would leave me alone. Unfortunately, my refusal was not a deterrent, as she took that as a cue to strike up a conversation. She asked if I was traveling, picking up on my large backpack and sleeping bag, and I said yes, but was trying to be as vague as possible. Then, she asks where I am going, and as I did not know how to deflect her and being too deeply uncomfortable to lie, I said the truth, Napa. She then proceeds to tell me how she had gotten locked up at a psychiatric facility in Napa after she had beat her husband with a phone retriever after he had threatened her. Feeling very glad that I had not given her my phone, I try to defuse the situation by sympathizing with her over her awful ex-husband. That prolongs the conversation, and she asks me again to borrow my phone so that she could show me a website called World's Best Gore Vids. Apparently, there is a particular video she was a fan of that was a graphic video of a man getting his head run over by a tank. Now, I don't know about you, but that is not something I want to watch ever, but especially not with the woman who had just admitted to savagely beating someone. Luckily, soon after my train arrives at the station and I board it. Unluckily, so did she. She kept talking to me during the ride. For my part, I tried to say as little as possible to not seem rude and anger her, while also trying to make it clear that I was not interested in talking. She did not pick up this cue or did not care. We parted ways a few stops later, when she got off the train. She told me she was meeting her new boyfriend there and had wanted to call him, which was why she had wanted to borrow my phone. I sincerely hope her new man does not have any phone receivers lying around, so let not meet. The Subway Stalker, a little backstory. I'm a 20-year-old, short petite female working at Subway, and I can't help but be nice to anyone even if they creep me out. I feel bad usually. About a year ago we had this guy 35 to 40 years old who would come in every day for lunch. He was fascinated by my stretched ears and few piercings I had on my face and always asked questions. He would sit down after I rang him out and watch me from his table for 2 hours non-stop, just staring at me while I helped other customers. This goes on for about 2 weeks. Every day he would ask for my number, saying he has plugs and tunnels he wants to give me and see me wearing them in my ears, and I always politely declined. One day, I'm alone in the store because my manager had to run to the bank. We were really slow that day, so I was just in the back room messing around on my phone. I heard the door chime, looked up, and yet no one was there. Then I saw the man walk past the front of the store really quickly, like he was in a hurry. The store phone rings. Me, thanks for calling Subway. How can I help you? Him, this is the girl with the nice ears, right? Me, yes. Who is this? Him, are you alone in the back room right now? Are you working by yourself? At this point I really got creeped out and knew it was him. I hung up and texted my manager the situation so she would hurry back. He called again. This time asking me very weird questions, like what I would do with him in a room with the door locked, if I had a boyfriend, why I was playing hard to get, etc. My manager gets back and I tell her everything. In the middle of the lunch rush, he calls again. This time my manager answers, and to this day she never told me what he said, but the look on her face made my spine shiver. She told him if he called again or showed up here she would call the police. I thought that was the end of it, but alas, I was wrong. 1 week later, I'm clocking out and getting ready to walk to my car parked in the front, and when I look outside, I see him standing by my car and looking inside of it. I was an idiot and left a back door unlocked. I watched him crawl inside and shut the door. The creep was trying to hide in my fucking back seat and do God knows what to me when I got in. My manager locked the front door of our store and called the police. When they arrived, they had to pretty much drag him out of my car, and he was arrested. On him was a butcher knife, rope, and a rag with chloroform on it. If I hadn't looked up when I did, I would probably be dead right now. So, subway stalker, let's not ever meet again.